Apple recently released the new iPhone 17, iPhone Air, and iPhone 17 Pro. So let's take a look at everything that's changed with these models, starting with iPhone 17, which comes in 5 colors: lavender, sage green, mist blue, white, and black. While I think these shades look nicer than last year, I expect many people to be disappointed with no pink option, which we had with not only iPhone 16, but also the 15. Now, the 17's design may not appear any different than last year, but there are small refinements, like a slightly larger display, moving from 6.1 inches to 6.3. This was achieved by reducing the borders around the screen. At 1.44 millimeters, they're about 36% thinner than iPhone 16's 2.27 millimeter screen borders. iPhone 17 is also slightly taller and narrower, with its height increasing from 5.81 inches to 5.89 inches, and its width decreasing from 2.82 inches to 2.81 inches, although this change is practically imperceptible. What you're more likely to notice is the new ProMotion display that features a 120Hz refresh rate instead of 60Hz. This is a feature we've been begging Apple to make standard across all their flagship phones, and this year they finally did it. ProMotion makes text look sharper while scrolling, animation smoother, and gives the interface a more responsive feel. It also has a variable refresh rate as low as 1 Hz, enabling another feature coming to the base iPhone for the first time: always-on functionality. While in sleep mode, iPhone 17 dims the lock screen while keeping its content visible, like the wallpaper, time, date, widgets, and notifications. You can even customize what's shown under settings. iPhone 17 also matches the peak brightness of pricier models, receiving a 50% boost from 2000 nits on iPhone 16 to 3000 nits this year. This is only achievable while outdoors and lasts a limited amount of time to prevent overheating. Apple also added an anti-reflective coating to this year's iPhones, reducing glare by about 33%, which should also help make the screen easier to see in bright outdoor conditions. Now let's talk about the A19 chip. It delivers a decent performance boost over last year's A18 chip with 20% faster GPU speeds, 11% faster single-core CPU speeds, and 9% faster multi-core CPU speeds. Of course, these gains will be even larger if you're upgrading from an older iPhone 14 or 15. Now let's get into the cameras, which received significant upgrades this year. After 6 years with a 12-megapixel selfie camera, it's now been increased to 18 megapixels and includes some clever engineering. Instead of a typical rectangular sensor, Apple gave this year's iPhones a square selfie camera sensor, which is technically 24 megapixels. But instead of using all those pixels, Apple's using the flexibility of a large square sensor to enable some new functionality, like center stage, which automatically keeps you in frame during a FaceTime or conference call. But what's even cooler is the ability to take landscape photos without rotating your phone. This also gives the selfie camera a wider angle and automatically senses people trying to fit in frame and zooms out to include them. Finally, the jump from 12 to 18 megapixels just makes regular selfies look much sharper and higher quality. As for the rear cameras, Apple made an even more dramatic upgrade, with the ultra-wide lens moving from 12 megapixels to 48. That means there won't be a huge quality difference between photos taken with either lens, since they're both now 48 megapixels. Now let's talk about iPhone 17's battery. Compared to the 16, it's 3.7% larger, at 3,692 milliamp hours, but its offline video playback numbers are 36% higher, achieving 30 hours compared to 22 last year. Apple also increased its charging speed, going from 0 to 50% in just 20 minutes with a 40-watt charger. That's 33% faster than iPhone 16 and actually matches the speed of the 17 Pro. Finally, Apple's giving iPhone 17 twice as much storage as iPhone 16 at 256 gigabytes instead of 128, and offering a 512 gigabyte option for $200 more. The best part is iPhone 17's price is the same as last year, at $799. Now, this isn't cheap, but in my opinion, it makes iPhone 17 the best value model ever, since it has almost all the premium features of last year's 16 Pro for the price of a standard base model iPhone. Something else that's an incredible value are the motion presets I use from our channel partner, Motion VFX. A lot of people have emailed me over the years asking how I make my videos, because high-quality infographics and visual effects like these are very time-consuming to build manually. But Motion VFX makes this easy with their drag and drop presets. My most used plugin pack has been mKeynote, and this updated version has become even better with a fresh appearance, new liquid glass effects, and even more infographic presets, which is really useful for my videos. I've actually been using this line graph preset quite a bit, and I love how customizable it is. I can change the font, the colors, choose the number of segments I want, adjust the glint effect, and even remove the circle end caps. If I want to recreate a graph like this showing Apple's stock price, I can just overlay this mKeynote 2 preset, drag the peaks and valleys to precisely match the original, change the values, and I'm done. What I just did in a few seconds used to take me 15 to 20 minutes to build manually. But that's just one preset. mKeynote 2 contains over 100 presets, including diagrams, progress bars, lists, titles, callouts, descriptions, backgrounds, transitions, this liquid magnifier, which I love, split screen effects, and more. These high-quality presets not only make your videos look professional, but they save you an incredible amount of editing time. So check out mKeynote 2 now at motionvfx.com or by tapping the link in the comments. Now let's move on to what I think is the most exciting model of the year, iPhone Air. Not iPhone 17 Air, which makes me wonder if next year's replacement will be called iPhone Air 2 or iPhone Air 2nd generation, or maybe there won't be one. But anyway, iPhone Air is the thinnest model ever. At just 5.6 millimeters, it beats the previous record set by iPhone 6, which was 6.9 millimeters. That makes iPhone Air almost 19% thinner. Now, the biggest concern people had about a phone this thin was bending, and it's safe to say Apple laid those concerns to rest. Because in an interview, Apple's marketing president Greg Joswiak let the host try bending the device, and they couldn't. Apple actually put a lot of effort into strengthening its chassis. iPhone Air has a titanium frame, which makes it incredibly rigid, but it's also designed to withstand some amount of flex and then return to its original form. According to Allstate's bend test, iPhone Air can withstand 190 pounds of pressure, almost matching the 17 Pro, which achieved 200 pounds. iPhone Air is also incredibly light. At 165 grams, it's 20% lighter than the 17 Pro, despite having a bigger screen. And let's talk about that screen for a minute, because the dynamic island is actually positioned slightly lower on it than on other models, and it's oriented in the opposite direction, with the selfie camera being on the left side instead of the right. This is likely for space optimization reasons, because Apple moved several components, including the chip, inside the larger camera bump. But the screen's functionality is the same as other models, with ProMotion, always-on functionality, 3000 nits of peak outdoor brightness, and the anti-reflective coating. Plus, its borders are just as thin as 17 Pro, at 1.44 millimeters. This is a theme you'll see Apple mention a lot, that iPhone Air is basically a Pro-level device in a super thin and light enclosure. And that is true in some ways, but definitely not in others. For example, its A19 Pro chip, which appears to be the same one used in the 17 Pro models, is actually a binned version, which means it has 5 GPU cores instead of 6, resulting in performance that's 10 to 15% worse. Also, the Air's compact design means it heats up faster under load, and therefore throttles performance sooner. Apple also gave this model their new C1X modem, which focuses on high power efficiency while delivering decent wireless speeds. But the 17 Pro has a more advanced modem that delivers the best speeds in the industry today. The good news is iPhone Air has the same 18-megapixel selfie camera with all the same features as the other models. But its rear camera system is a big downgrade. It uses just one lens, the same approach Apple took with their budget iPhone 16e. This is disappointing, since cameras consistently rank as one of the most important features to smartphone customers. And considering iPhone Air's $1,000 price, this type of rear camera setup feels very limited. All it has is a cropped 2x optical zoom, and that's it. No ultra-wide angle, no telephoto, and because it's a single lens, portrait mode photos have less accurate edge detection and just don't look as good. Luckily, the biggest concern people had about iPhone Air, its battery life, turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Its 27 hours of offline video playback is only 10% less than iPhone 17, and actually matches last year's 16 Pro. Real-world battery tests have proved this, with iPhone Air achieving 12 hours and 2 minutes of internet browsing, only about 6% less than iPhone 17. That's actually pretty incredible, considering iPhone Air's physical battery is 15% smaller. Where it falls behind, though, is charging speed, going from 0 to 50% in 30 minutes instead of 20 minutes like every other model this year. But again, it's not all bad news. Apple did give iPhone Air 12 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than the 8 gigabytes last year. Finally, let's move on to iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, which for the first time ever only come in 3 colors: cosmic orange, deep blue, and silver. There's no space gray or black, and lots of people are upset about it. I'm just upset that we went from 4 color options to 3, which is usually a sign of cost cutting. Now, between the 17 Pro and Pro Max, there are just 3 differences: their displays at 6.3 and 6.9 inches, their batteries at 33 and 39 hours of offline video playback, and their screen borders at 1.44 and 1.36 millimeters. Compared to last year, the most noticeable difference is the rear design. Not only is the camera bump 82% larger, but Apple decided to extend the metal frame to cover the camera bump, with a glass rectangle at the bottom to allow for MagSafe and wireless charging. This has proven to be a controversial change for many reasons, which I covered in my previous video, but honestly, the appearance of 17 Pro doesn't bother me. It's the switch from titanium to aluminum that I just don't find acceptable. Now, Apple says they made the switch since aluminum is lighter and better for thermal conductivity, but it's also cheaper and softer and easier to damage, which we've already seen happening. Now, the display is the same, except for slightly thicker bezels on the Pro Max, a higher peak outdoor brightness of 3000 nits, and an anti-reflective coating. Now, let's talk about how the A19 Pro chip performs in these phones. Unlike iPhone Air, the 17 Pro models are big, actually a little larger and thicker than last year. Paired with a new vapor chamber cooling system, heat is moved quickly away from the chip, which has been repositioned near the center of the phone. That means no matter the task, 17 Pro will run cooler in your hand than 16 Pro. But this becomes really useful during intensive tasks, since these new models have about 40% better sustained performance. What that means is, if you're playing a graphics-heavy video game, 17 Pro won't throttle as much or as soon as 16 Pro, letting you enjoy 40% better performance after gaming for about an hour or 2. In fact, 17 Pro's throttle performance actually beats the 16 Pro's peak performance. That's a big advantage only available on these 17 Pro models. The 18-megapixel center stage camera has been added, and the previous 12-megapixel telephoto lens has finally been upgraded to 48 megapixels, resulting in much higher quality photos while using the zoom function. And this is particularly important on the 17 Pro models, since they also have an updated tetraprism design to accommodate 8 times optical zoom and 40 times digital zoom. Previously, using the maximum zoom resulted in some really poor quality photos, especially in low light conditions, since iPhone wouldn't switch to the telephoto lens at all due to its poor low light performance. Instead, it was using a digital zoom on the main 48 megapixel lens. So having those 48 megapixels on the telephoto lens means a dramatic improvement in low light zoomed in photos. Now let's talk about battery life, which increased 6 hours for both the 17 Pro and Pro Max, at a total of 33 and 39 hours of offline video playback. And charging speed has become 33% faster, going from 0 to 50% in 20 minutes, but only if you're using Apple's 40-watt dynamic power adapter, which uses dynamic power switching to regulate voltage, giving the phone more power up to 60 watts when it's safe to do so, and reducing voltage as the battery fills up. This allows for faster charging without risking excessive heat stress on the battery. These models have also been upgraded to 12 gigabytes of RAM, up from 8 gigabytes with the 16 Pro, although Apple did implement another price hike, from $999 last year to $1,099 today, which is another reason why using cheaper aluminum on the 17 Pro just didn't seem right. Now, people are shrugging this off by saying, well, Apple doubled the storage capacity from 128 to 256 gigabytes, so the higher price is okay. But remember, iPhone 17 also received double of storage for the same price as iPhone 16. Also, the markup Apple puts on their storage upgrades are outrageously high. Estimates put the number at 300 to 400%. That means when you see them do these price hikes while doubling the storage, it's just Apple forcing us to pay their insane markups to help pad their bottom line. Alright, so that's everything new with the iPhone 17, iPhone Air, and iPhone 17 Pro models. This is Greg with Apple Explained. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next video.